We have the highest homicide rates in the world in El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala. So every day is a challenge, and you have to innovate because it's so complicated, and I think nobody has the answers to youth violence. So we try, we innovate, we talk to other people. So it is, and when there's a death or when there's an injury or when you hear about, one of the children not being able to walk home because they're afraid, or not being able to go to school because they're afraid, or they can't go to high school because it's across the street, and across the street is another gang. All these challenges make it a frustrating job, but definitely, I mean, when you know that you've been able to pull a 18-year-old that's been out of school for 6 years, pull them back into school to start school again, or when you know that a child of someone who's been involved in a life of crime is involved in our after-school clubs, and they're in the squash club or in the chess club or in the glee club, that is a small but huge victory. With tens of thousands of kids in these programs, each of those is a small, big victory for us. Another thing that's been happening a lot is that the kids who have finished school in the schools where they were involved in clubs, they come back to volunteer in the schools that they went to. So there's definitely that. We're really trying to engender in communities and in people a sense of agency and that things can change, and a sense of civic participation through service. And we have seen it with our students. Even when they're in school, the older kids start leading after-school programs for the younger kids. So they'll start the mini club, the mini robotics club, the mini discovery club, the mini glee club. So they start volunteering in their own schools, which is amazing. The parents start volunteering, the teachers start volunteering, and obviously, we have data that kids who are not in our programs in the communities where we work are 3 times as likely to drop out than kids who are, which is pretty awesome.
It's awesome
and crazy. Yes, that's why we're like, we need 80% enrollment in the clubs. You want all the kids, but sometimes they need to work, or sometimes their parents want them to go back and do something in the house. But we keep working on recruiting more kids and getting them more involved in the programs. Ironically, the kids who are in these after-school programs, we work with kids from all sorts of communities, regardless of what gang is there. We don't even talk about the gangs. We're there for young people. And ironically, when we have tournaments at the end of the year, sports tournaments or festivals or any kind of event, and we do school events, there's no problem. All these kids mix, and there's no problem, and they have a great time together. But if they went alone, they can't. They actually just wouldn't go. So I mean, what we want to do is we want to keep kids away from violence. We want to keep them in school, and we want to help them thrive. We want to equip them with what they need to thrive, given the adverse environment that they live in. And now it's challenging, it's stimulating, it's frustrating, it's painful, and but at the same time, I think the small victories do provide enough fuel, and they, you do need to get that fill every once in a while, because it's always an uphill, and everything's more complicated than it seems. But at the end of the day, that interaction with a child or a student or someone in a hospital really gives you hope that things can change. And I'm a chronic optimist. Even though I get frustrated, I'm a chronic optimist. And I always think things can change. I always think they can get better.